Hey
What up?
everybody, what's going on, guys? And of course, go ahead and run it, brother.
No, go ahead, man. Your voice is beautiful. I'm sorry, I was in my own little zone of not paying attention, so I need to start paying attention. But what up, everybody? Fight fans, we're live. Episode 6, Off Script Sports. The voice, Jesse of the Cage Green, and Mario Spider Garay here today to talk about the GFL draft. Guys, the draft is over. The future was seen. Mario and I, we talked about last week we talked about the draft and we talked about the impact of said draft and 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 how we wanted a league for retired fighters and how we wanted a league for people to just, in their careers the right way. Needless to say, the GFL league sprouted on us with a draft like no other. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into that draft. We're going to go round by round, 1 through 4, and talk about who was drafted, the impact they have on that team, and people that stand out. After that, we're going to go into a deeper dive into the teams, our predictions for the teams, and who we think is going to go into the next level. What teams we think are going to succeed, and what teams we think we're going to fail, based on their coaches, based on their managers, and just based on the overall the the gel of the team. So today, Mario, I'm happy to have you here.
Yes, sir.
Episode number 5, or sorry, episode number 6. The one, the only Mario Spider. Mario, what you got?
My man. Well, first off, like you mentioned, man, I mean, we did talk about this retirement league, and I say that without the respect. A lot of the fighters on here, of course, they've already had their run in the big show. It just seems like they just gathered up fighters, UFC vets. I mean, MMA vets in general, but I mean, they just kind of gathered everybody up and decided to do this. I mean, there's a lot of questions to this, though, man. But I mean, when it comes to round one, I mean, we'll go ahead and jump right into it. And what's for me, what's intriguing is the coaches, bro. I mean, of course, they got big names when it comes to coaches or managers, as you mentioned earlier. Um, it kind of reminds me of the IFL. It has a whole team aspect. It's got the on this one, of course. I think you had mentioned, if you lose, you're out, sort of thing. So it's a do or die. I mean, a lot of these fighters, this is probably the last shot they're gonna get. Whether or not they go back in the UFC, that's still to be seen. But I mean, round one, man. I mean, I'll start off. I mean, pick one. Team Dubai, of course. Tyrone Woodley, welterweight division. I love the guy. I mean, I was a fan of him, of course. Got to meet him at the UFC Houston Expo when he was in Bellator, and there was a lot of Bellator fighters there, bro. And like nobody was going up to these guys. I mean, a lot of these guys that have made it to the UFC, I knew all of them because I was a fan of the. I used to watch Bellator all the time, and it just kind of made sense. But I got to get him all to myself, so cool dude. But when it comes to him being picked, I mean, on this one, just depends on who he's going to be fighting. I don't see, uh, you know, not to say I don't see him winning because he can definitely win. It's
Mm.
just I don't see what he's going to get out of this other than a big fat paycheck, man.
I see paycheck as a huge concern for me, but my red flag with him being the number one pick is that I feels like there was a lot more talent in the field than for him to be the number one pick. As we dwell through the first round, and I'm looking at just like talent wise, I see Sage Northcutt, George Masai, Junior Dos Santos, Fabrico Wardham, and Kevin Lee as just like the top 6 picks. But
Yeah,
like when I'm thinking about Tyron Woodley and being the number one overall pick, when I'm having just a pool of fighters with that can compete, especially with leagues that went down, especially with leagues that just aren't around. Just being able to say that those things that we have are just, it seems like the talent pool was a little bit more. And maybe that Tyrone shouldn't have been the number one pick, especially with his just outcome of it, just what we've seen from him overall. I guess in the last, I'm not sure, I don't know, year and a half of like him just being irrelevant. Uh, you know, as far as like the Tyron Woodley that we seen from the Ultimate Fighter and from the 19th to the ninth season of the Ultimate Fighter, and starting off his career with six wins in a row. 5 of them coming wide by way of submission. You know, I haven't seen that Woodley since then.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that guy exists. Is that guy a number one pick on words, on paper? It may be able to be that way. But right now, Tyron Woodley, I'm not sure he was the best person in this draft. I'm not sure he's the best person for the number one spot. I'm not sure what criteria went into it of how they were going to build a team, but it was surprising to see him be the number one pick. Lo and behold, I really do wish him well and want to see him succeed.
Oh
But like as far as number one pick, I've got an issue almost with every pick in the first round.
yeah.
I'm not afraid to say it. You know, like Sage has been a shell of himself since he's fought for the legacy. You know, we never saw him really compete and win championship.
No, yeah. I
You
mean,
know, we
literally.
never got a chance to see that guy that was in that regional circuit that you and I both saw to see his talent.
Yeah.
I never saw his talent because maybe, just maybe, it maybe was there, but it maybe wasn't.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm not sure. That's a huge problem. Red flag. Jump out. You know? And even when it comes down to talking about the number 3 pick and Jared Masai, you know, guy that had a lot of talent, had a lot of everything, but kind of just fell to the wayside. He fell to the wayside of just overall what I want to do for the middleweight division.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, great kickboxer. He most recently competed in Bellator, so he was one of those guys that was doing that. But he's at the end of his career, man. He's 39.
Yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
know, like he's Father Time is undefeated. The dream catcher can't only catch so many dreams. And throughout his career, he's a brawler. He fights. He does what he needs to do to get the job done. And I but do I see number one pick potential? I really don't see that. You know, last two bouts, decision loss, decision loss.
Oh yeah.
You know, hadn't won a bout since 2022. You know, granted, he went on a win streak in 2020 from 2016 to 2022, and a lot of UFC cards, a lot of UFC fight nights. You know, he has been that guy to do it. Number one pick. I don't know. It's tough.
You see,
Um,
but you got to ask yourself too, man. I mean, it's the GFL. You know, I mean, I don't know what kind of money they have, but obviously they're pulling their weight because they're picking up all these fighters. Um, I mean, compared to like the other fighters on the roster, I mean, yeah, it's going to be one of those hit or miss. I mean, when it comes to him actually being able to, win, say he wins a tournament, then okay, what's next? I mean, I'm curious to see, how many I guess seasons, if anything, that this promotion is going to last. I mean, and I, it's who's to say like when they should retire? I mean, of course, they're at age, they're on the losing streak, but it's just. I mean, for me, that's like one of those things where they got to transition, go into grappling, go into boxing, go into something else that they can keep that fire going. But I mean, when it comes to MMA, like I think they're done. I mean, not all of them, but I mean, just for the most part, a lot of these guys should have hung it up.
I think I wouldn't say hang it up, but right now I really want us to focus just on the draft. We're talking about a draft of the players, and if you go down, we go into the second round, and we really look at the second round, and tell me who would you not picked over, let's say, a Sage Northcutt, Anthony Pettis, or Sage Northcutt? Who do you want in your team?
Ooh, I mean, out of the two,
Out of the two,
man, I would say Northcutt on this one.
okay, all right, Northcutt or Gustafsson?
On the which one? I'm sorry.
Alexander Gustafsson or Sage Northcutt?
Gustafsson, bro.
Okay, so Gustafsson was the fourth pick in the second round,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So teams passed on him. I'll give you again Tyron Woodley or Anthony Pettis.
Oof.
It was a harder
Anthony
decision
Pettis.
for you for the second pick than the number one pick overall. I'll give
Yeah.
you an easier one. Tyron Woodley or Chris Weidman?
No, White man, bro.
Okay. Weidman was the first pick in the second round.
Yeah, the second round.
I'll give you another one. Yoel Romero or Tyron Woodley. Who you got?
Oh, Romero.
Third pick, third round. Fourth pick, third round. Right? So we're going on. I think that the easiest one for you to do, and I'm gonna just give you this easy one. Uriah Faber, or Tyron Woodley.
Faber.
Okay. Oh, so he won't even be drafted in your fourth round.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
So
see, but let me, but yeah, I mean, when it comes to the draft, I see what you mean because yeah, it's supposed to be like the who's who, like who's hot, who's ready.
there we
It's just like when
go.
it comes to the NFL, NBA, they want to get the younger, hungry athletes, But yeah, dude, I mean, it's just you mentioned Faber and Woodley. I mean, they're both, Faber. I think he competed like in grappling in his promotion. I think out there in California. So I mean, the guy's still doing this thing. But I mean, when it comes to MMA, it's like depending who they were fighting, I would have to see who their opponents was to see for me to tell you, okay, he's gonna win, or Faber's gonna win, or Woodley.
Yeah, but they won't fight each other because they're in two
No,
different
no,
divisions.
no, no. No, no, right. But I'm saying like it would just be one of those like I mean, right now I'm picking Faber just because I mean I've always been a fan of the guy. I mean I've met him a few times, but it's just as a competitor I'd pick him over Woodley for sure.
Absolutely. We're talking about draft guys. Again, we're off script sports. We're here today. We're talking GFL Fight League, the league that started it all, the league that came out with a draft. It drafted a ton of talent, and that talent has moved on to see some great names. We got Holly Holm that was drafted, Sage Northcutt, names like Keith Lee, Verdum. We're looking at names and talking about teams, and we're looking for your response. Teams, if you're in right now and you're listening to the show, I want you to comment who is the biggest bust or biggest best pick on the draft. If you got a person, we love for you to chime in. We love for you to let us know how you feel. We're going to take a quick 1 minute break, and we'll be right back to you.
Got it, man. Give us a minute, guys. We'll be right back. And we are back, guys. We are
Boom.
back.
Fight fans, we're back. We were here. We're talking GFL sports. We're talking the draft. The draft that started it. The draft that has a lot of legends. I think this is our first legends draft that we've ever seen. I think it's similar to the feat that they got going on at WWE with their legends broadcast that they're bringing on, which is something that's interesting to say the least, because it allows us to live a little bit of our childhood. But getting back into the draft, I want to get into the third round, where the man that stands out the most, or two people that stand out to me in this round, are going to be Tony Ferguson and Yoel Romero, and probably also Holly Holm. I'm looking at this third round and saying that this round may have a champion or a champion or two in it, just because of just the talent level that's in the draft. Mario, how do you feel about the third round? You got Derek Brunson, Tony Ferguson, Josine Knutson, Yoel Morero, Carlos Perzola, and Holly Holm.
Man, I would go with the same picks you did, man. I mean, when it comes to Tony Ferguson, I mean, he just recently released right from the UFC. Um, tough as nails. I mean, of course, Joel Romero. I mean, I think he did like a boxing for Game Bread. I forgot that new promotion he's got, but he's got that dirty boxing
Yeah, I
promotion. But I
can't
think he
wait.
fought there. So the guy still has a lot of fire, man. I mean, Holly Holm, of course. I mean, I was kind of actually surprised that she left the UFC or was let go. I'm not sure if she left or they let her go, but either way, I was surprised she left.
Yeah, you and me both. Me and you both were surprised about some of the names that are on the roster, just because we saw the I guess the explosion of Bellator and the fighter promotion league for what it was and how it just kind of went away. It kind of just left us overnight. It was like one of those like overnight stands that you never thought would happen, and it happened. And then you see leagues like the GFL that tend to come and want to grow. And so I wish this league well. I don't want to, we earlier mentioned numbers, but I think that the downside to getting this much talent together and for them to be able to compete or to be able to sign contracts for X amount of fights is going to be the dollars.
Yeah,
Uh, Granted, I think that maybe each of these fighters are getting six figures. I think that the draft top of the line could be getting up into nine figures, up into six figures, up into seven. I think that saying that Tyron Woodley getting paid $1 million to be fighting for him is not out of the side of the park. I think I think that some of the guys that were drafted in the Type 4 rounds all were paid six figures. I think that 350 to $400,000 per person
okay.
for six fights is something that could have happened. I Am I wrong? Maybe. Am I off? Probably not by much. But to get
Yeah,
this much talent together to compete and ask to be on a team and to say that they want to be on a team is something that was led by money, driven by money, but the public and saying that how it's going to work and how we're going to feel about it is totally different. I think this is like UFC on steroids. UFC fighter night, fighter, whatever, on steroids. All these managers, are they great coaches? We don't know. The only team that we've seen coach, I've seen Velasquez has been on a fighter camp. I've seen Silva on a fighter camp. We've seen all these fighters lead a team.
yeah,
Right, we've seen them all lead a team and build up to big fights on UFC cards. So it'll be interesting to see on how they just manage their teams and allow their coaches to coach and see what talent matches with what talent. Because the one thing you can't coach personality, you can't coach work ethic, you can't coach team, you can't coach me. You've got to take a lot of the things out that all these guys that came from camps to where that they were the A player, they were the guy. They're not the
oh,
guy anymore,
yeah,
and that's a big hurdle ahead. We look at people that did not get drafted. I'm looking at teams, and when I go down to teams, and I'm looking at New York City, and I see the names of Owen St. Pierre, competing. Phil Hawes competing, Dylan Dennis competing. You know, these guys are not named guys, but there's a lot of talent on these rosters. And if this works, we're in trouble. It really is this like, that one thing that if it worked and if it works and we get behind it, brother, MMA community gets behind it and we really push for something great, I think that this could be great for all people, even on the regional circuit.
yeah.
Doesn't necessarily have to be just people with big names.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're gonna need feeders, man. I mean, by that I mean, fighters to fill up the card. So I mean, there's definitely gonna be opportunity.
Opportunity for greatness. Opportunity for greatness is what we are. Guys, I want to tell you about a special invitation that we're having out. We got a meeting, or not a meeting, but an interview set up with two very special people in our community. We tend to reach out to youth in our area, and we want to send a special shout out to Brandon Wakefield and his team at Satori MMA for his two competitors that he has going on representing our country. When you talk about representing our country, we talk about people who not only get a chance to do something that they love, but they get a chance to do something that they want to do for their country. And for that, I want everybody to tune in with us later on this week. I think we're going to actually shoot for Wednesday. We're going to bring the two competitors on, or one competitor on each day on Wednesday, maybe even on Thursday. We'll get the second one
Right.
on and just highlight their careers. I'm not going to drop any names, but they knew who they are. Thank you for representing Victoria. Thank you for representing um, thank you for representing MMA community, just the community in general of combat sports, from being from a small town in Victoria, going on to represent your country,
Nice.
going on just to be an inspiration to the people that you're around and set the legacy for you. Uh, Guys, just ran out of Satori MMA. We'll bring Brandon on tomorrow. I don't want to run into too many secrets or too many details of what that interview will be, but I guarantee you it'll be something special. If you want to reach out to Brandon and you want to reach out to Satori MMA, or you want to just send some love, Brandon Wakefield on can be found on Facebook, Satori MMA. Reach out to them. They're doing great things in Victoria. They're giving kids a chance to be the best version of themselves. They're giving the kids a chance to not only represent their country, but do what the 1% of the people would do.
Oh
And
yeah.
for that, me and Mario are greatly appreciative of that. For everyone in that regional circuit, for fighters that commit or fighters that are out there right now listening to this today, this is your show. This is a show that's about you. This is about the regional guys. This is about guys that are in our circle, or not necessarily in our circle, but just in our daily interactions. We want to talk to the guy that wakes up 9 to 5, goes to work, puts in the work, then hits the gym, just to do something that he loves. Very similar to our stories. We're here for you. We're here to see you grow. We're here to see you, you know, take the next step in your stage in your career, but also, know that we're here, we're there. Which brings us to our, one of our last topics of the day. LFA 200 recently came in. Johns versus Douglas. That was set in Minneapolis. Looks like
Bro.
Prior Lake, Minnesota, uh, and it
Yeah.
came down to something that we may have not even seen. We saw a UFC prospect, upset. It
Yeah.
looks like Elijah Johns came into the bout as the champ, and he lost by knockout. Mario, go into detail more about what you know about Elijah. Maybe even about a little bit more about Douglas representing Brazil.
No, man. Well, I mean, as you stated, man. I mean, of course, Elijah. I mean, the guy. He was on a streak, dude. I mean, he's made his name through the LFA promotion. His opponent, of course, both coming in with titles. They unified the titles. His opponent, of course, tough as nails, dude, out of Brazil. I've always been a fan of the Brazilian fighters. Through the days of Vale Tudo, man. So I mean, not to say they're I mean, everybody's evolved. Let me put it that way. But the Brazilian fighters, they fight from the heart, bro. I mean, they it's almost for the most part, it's pretty much they fight because that's all they have. They're trying to make it. They come to the U.S. Make a name for themselves. But yeah, his opponent was tough as nails, and he proved it that day. For the fact that he came in and he actually was able to not just get the win but get the finish, bro. I mean, that's opened a lot of eyes. Earlier you did mention, I mean, the weight division, of course, not being a hot weight division with the UFC, but for me, it meant a lot, and it's one of those where I see the UFC coming in and picking up one and not both, because Jones, I mean, Elijah, of course, he did take a loss, but the guy's a prospect, dude. He's still young. I mean, one loss, just a little speed bump. Um, but I mean, I see him out there. I see both of them in the UFC this year, honestly.
Wow. I mean, when you take a deeper look and just like John's past 5 bouts, I mean, it's been a struggle for him to even find a fighter.
Yeah,
I look at him
that's
being
about.
even dated back to February 10th, 2020. His last, I guess, streak of fighting didn't have. It's been 2 years.
Yeah,
Like since he's actually had consistent bouts. His bouts on the February 10th against Marion Santos canceled. He didn't want a no contest in 2021 against Javier Garcia. That's in the second round. So he's only really been in the cage. I don't know, 1 minute, cancel bout, decision, unanimous win against Alfred Walker, cancel bout, and then he lost the punches. But when every other bout is canceled and he picked up this win against a guy, I guess like it was a last second fight. He wasn't supposed to fight Javier Garcia. God knows why. Javier missed weight. Maybe he just had a
yeah,
bad camp, got hurt. But he fought somebody he wasn't supposed to fight. He won that fight. He did what he needed to do. Then his next bout got canceled in December. And then in January, when you're preparing for one person and you get to, he's preparing for Larry and Douglas, looks like he got canceled Larian canceled that bout, and then they fought again.
Yeah.
That's more or less lines of maybe this guy just the cycle of just like, am I gonna fight? Am I not gonna fight? Am I gonna fight? Am I not gonna fight?
No,
Having
yeah,
that long of layoff, he had a whole year layoff. I mean, you don't go from
bro.
February 24 till January 25 to fight. That's a whole year.
Oh yeah, you
That
see, and I mean they were scheduled to fight in December, man, but that one
they
didn't
were
go through. So
even
I mean, and my
even
thing is also this. I mean, they could wait. It's already a lot of physical, mental drainage because I mean, cutting weight, I mean, takes a lot out of you. So for them to cut all that weight, get ready in December, only to have to do it again, a month later, bro. I mean, I can only imagine like the strain that their bodies take, with something like that, bro.
I know but in contrast, you look at we're only talking about jobs in this instance because
Oh
when I
yeah.
look at the activity when I look at the activity of Douglas,
Oh,
I see an active
he's
fighter.
busy.
I see someone who was active in
He's busy.
24.
Yeah.
Look at what he did. I'm just saying he has one fight in May, fight in August, fight in December, fight in January. He fought the entire year. I mean, I'm sorry, his last fight in December got canceled because of Elijah, but he fought in November, he fought in May, he fought August, he fought twice. He beat Javier Reyes. Looks like he went by punches. He's been knocking people out his whole time. It does not go to fact to say that his last three fights or his last 3 fights before then, 4 fights before then, the guy just knows how to fight.
And
So his mindset for
nickname
coming in,
with a
what's that?
nickname like Gunslinger too, man. He's got hands, bro. So
The hands. And it does not surprise me to where that if you get into a fist fight with a fist fighter, you're gonna lose. A fist fighter. This guy's a fist fighter. He fights with his hands. He's exciting. And people need to watch him. I think that you're right. He's on his way up. We should see him getting called up. I hope that this guy from Huntington Beach, California, comes out, dominates, and does what he needs to do. Coaches, if you're listening, Bloodline Combat Sports, we'd love to have one of your fighters on. We'd
oh
love
yeah.
to speak to Larry and Douglas Oliveira, the gunslinger, currently on a 4-fight win streak, and he throws punches. We're happy to talk about you. We want to get into the next bout. I think another bout on this card. What was the second bout you were talking about?
Well, it was a co-main event. I mean, of course, Shannon Clark, 6-1. Of course, he went up one. Cheyenne Bowers. I mean, they both still young in their records. I mean, it's 7 bouts under their belt. But yeah, man. I mean, this one the same thing. Unification. I mean, Shannon Clark. I mean, she's been, making a name for herself. On this one, it was by split decision, I believe. So I mean, I don't want to say she took Cheyenne lightly, but I mean, the fact that she stood in there, man. I mean, proved that she belongs in there. I mean, of course, she took a loss, but I mean, she didn't get beat. They had to go to a decision on this one.
No, I agree with what you're saying about just how the two warriors competed. And when I look at just the depth and scope and take a look at the MMA Barbie Shannon Clark, I look at her career and I look at what she's done so far as a professional, and I see nothing but professional work. I mean, there's not a way that she has not won. She's won even through her amateur career, which is relatively short. She fought
Yeah, she
3
fought
amateur
quick.
fights, went 3-0, dominated in her pro debut with a TKO in the third round. She says that she's a warrior. All of her punches or all of her knockouts, they come with time. Outside of one that she won in the first minute of the round against Tanya Niar, like she knows how to fight. Either she's gonna get knocked out or she's gonna fight. And then that bout against UNC Dublin when she took that overhand right. That may have just caught her by surprise just on the contender series because I can only understand or just imagine the amount of just what was going through her mind at that time. Like just being on the Dana White contender series and just being in that moment at that time
Oh
and
yeah,
being able just to be like, oh, nuts, I got to go. This guy is undefeated. I've got to stay on my rocker. I've got to do what I got to do. I've won my last 4 fights. And the only fight that she's ever lost came at that time. So it could be that one thing to say that this person, Shannon Clark, may have just not been in the right position to handle the moment, but she's demonstrating to people and to fans that she's saying that I'm back, I'm ready, I want another chance to compete, and
Oh
I'm
yeah,
here. I'm here to stay. I may not have gone down like I wanted it, but I'm here, and I think that the call up may be there, but it may have been through. It's just the waters are so murky in women's MMA. You know,
yeah,
it's a talent filled league.
yeah.
So
Oh
I
yeah.
just want to see her. I want to see her grow. I want to see her thrive, but I also want to see her be in the right opportunity.
Oh
All
yeah,
right.
bro. And I mean, of course, that was two of the bosses we were going to talk about. Of course, LFA 200. The last one, I don't know if we had a third topic, man. What else were you going to bring up?
Uh, I really wanted to talk about just in general of MMA and the landscape that we have. We have a lot of bouts coming up, and we got a lot of UFC events coming up. We got a UFC card that's coming up. I believe that UFC card will be ES 312. We got UFC. I wanted to just touch base and see how you felt about the next card coming up. UFC 312. Marcus Duplessis, Ducris Plessis, and Sean Strickland. I wanted to throw out some early favorites and see where your head's feeling and how you feel about that match.
Man, I see a double knockout, bro. Honestly,
A
I see both
double
guys going
knockout.
in there, throwing that one punch to knock each other out, and I see both of them stumbling. I mean, of course, it probably won't be a double knockout, but I do see a knockout. I think it's gonna get ugly. I think they're just gonna go in there and throw everything, and the kitchen sink. So
So, do you think it's going to end? Tell me, just how do you think it's going to end?
by knockout, I
I
mean,
mean,
honestly,
knockout. Yeah, you say knockout. If anybody's getting knocked out, and we'll go on record to say if anybody's getting knocked out, it's going to be Duplessis. If the ground goes to the ground, if Duplessis takes Strickland to the ground,
oh
that is foreign waters for Strickland. Duplessis wins the game. I'm just saying, he can get beat up. He can take a punch.
yeah, oh
We all
yeah,
seen that. You can't go to somebody and say, I'm going to go hit concrete twice and expect a different result.
yeah,
When you hit concrete, you're going to get concrete. It's going to hurt. If he has not evolved his ground game, he's like, why would I want to make a bet with you? And he's like, hey, stand up the whole time if you think you're ready to fight. And he's like, why would I say I want to do that when your biggest weakness is me taking you to the ground?
yeah.
His biggest weakness is going to the ground. So I'm excited I don't say I want to see the fight hit the ground, but I'm letting you know that it'd be a wise for Duplessis to take the fight to the ground in the fight, maul him and get it over with. If he hasn't evolved his game, that's not his fault.
Oh yeah,
And
bro.
it's not his fault. Strickland needs to get his game together and hang. He can fight, he can punch, but come on, man, go get it
Hey,
done,
this
bro.
is actually taking place in Australia too, man. So it's going to be interesting to see how Sean Strickland. I don't think he cares if he's booed, So I don't think it'll bother him. But it's going to be interesting to see what the crowd plays.
I think that the crowd's gonna be split. I mean, it's in Australia. It's not in South Africa. They may be
Yeah,
close,
right.
but they hate each other. They don't like each other. They never
Oh
liked each
yeah,
other. So he's gonna go. He may have came into the country as the favorite, but he's not in unfamiliar territory, but he's not in territory that necessarily wants to see him succeed.
right,
Sean
right.
Strickland is more of a guy that you can get along with, which is what you want to see. As far as this other card that comes on down to the co-main event against the maybe one of the best women fighters that we've ever seen that does not speak a drop of English, was Zhang and Tatiana Suarez. That's me. That it could easily have been if this wasn't the world we live in, it would have been a huge pay-per-view drop. This card could stand on its own. This fight alone.
Oh yeah, I'm excited, dude. I mean, both ladies, of course. When you said as far as Zhang, man, I mean, she freaking tough as nails. Her opponent, same thing, dude. I mean, they've both been doing great in the promotion, so it's bound to happen. I mean, the fact that they're both fighting, um, in Australia, of course, just kind of it's interesting. Still, it's just I know, for the most part, I always tell people, it's jet lag. If Australia, I don't even know what the flight is. Like what, 12 hours, 24 hours, 2 weeks, I don't know, but they don't get there early enough for them to get ready and get used to it, man. I mean, it's gonna take a toll on their body.
Man, you're absolutely right. And guys, that's a wrap. We're done. Episode number 5. Off Script Sports. We're live. We're done. Fight fans, we want to thank you for joining us today. Mario, last thoughts.
Yes, sir. Everybody, of course, same thing. I mean, keep following us, support those that support you. So definitely give us a follow and share our page.
Absolutely, guys. We're a wrap. We'll see you next time.